it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head. I am your host, Brian Parker. And we have our panel here this week. It is almost over 2020, but we get one last show in before that. And 2020 has been a mixed bag for all of us. We did start in power back in August, so we are still going strong into our 4.5 month reach, and we are grateful to everyone that has liked, subscribed, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere that we are. Hopefully, most importantly, have joined, added our channel onto Roku, and hopefully in 2021, maybe we can go ahead and add Amazon Fire or Google TV as well, something that we're looking at doing in the near future. Any way that you do it, please like, share, and subscribe to YouTube. That way too, when we do go on live, as we do from time to time, or we post any content onto YouTube, you will get a notification letting you know that we have in fact done so that you can stay up to date. And if you would also like to be a panelist on any future head-to-head shows, please reach out to us at theparkermedia@gmail.com. You don't have to agree with the host, even though he's always right. And your views will be listened to as long as you don't represent QAnon or any other crackpot conspiracies. So, with that said, let's welcome our panel this week. Due to legal marital obligations, I have to start with Lori Parker. Hello, Lori.
Hello.
And I guess because I slid out of the womb first and he came right behind me. Hello, Jermaine Parker.
Yo, what's going on? Everybody loves seconds.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Michael Berry. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. I also came out second, so I guess you're right.
You might know what I'm talking about. Mike knows what's up.
Well, very good, very good. I hope everybody had themselves a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate. And then, of course, we've got New Year's in 2 days. So welcome. I do want to spend most of the time talking about New Year's and reflecting on 2020 and what we're looking forward to in 2021. However, as I always do, I'll try to bring up a little bit of what's going on in the current news and everything else. By the time our next show comes on, we will know who has won the Georgia runoffs. George, let me try that again. We got John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, and then there's Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. In a serious, heated, record-breaking runoff down in Georgia, which, as we know, for the November presidential election, flipped blue for the first time in 28 years. Now, depending on the outcome of this highly contested, expensive runoff, could determine whether Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have a Democratic-controlled Senate, or if it's going to be more the same of Turtle Mitch McConnell blocking everything he possibly can that comes his way. So if you guys know of anybody that lives in Georgia, please reach out to them. Make sure that they voted. Early voting has been going on for the last week and a half. The numbers are showing that a lot of people have taken advantage of that. And then, of course, Tuesday is the poll day. So we should start getting a lot of voting information shortly after 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. It's gonna get real, y'all.
Yes.
It should be interesting.
It should be interesting. I think Donald Trump hasn't helped. He did go down once to stump for them, is what he was supposed to do, but he spent more time talking about himself and how he's been grieved and how everybody from Brian Kemp, the governor, to Raffensperger, the attorney general, to Loeffler and Perdue, not doing enough to keep him in as president, as if that's what elections are supposed to do, if that's the will of the people. He's still trying to defy, not accept reality. We even know that on January the 5th, which is Tuesday, we will have the runoff election. But then on January the 6th, the following day, I'm sorry, let me back up timeline. January 3rd, the new Congress will be sworn in. So all of the Congress elects and everybody else that won in November gets sworn in. So the new Congress will start on Monday, and just in time for Tuesday for them to certify, which is supposed to just be a procedural thing. It's just written into the Constitution that after the Electoral College convened on the 14th of December, that now all of those votes go to Congress. The Vice President proceeds over a joint session of Congress, and they just go through, basically just going through the motions of counting the ballots and certifying the winner that's already been determined by the voters and by the Electoral College. But as we've learned in these last 4 years, nothing is just that simple anymore, is it?
Well, if Pence is loyal, he will not certify the vote.
Isn't he supposed to be going on going to an international trip that day or the day after?
I think that's what he's planning on doing.
After, yes, his canvas team has already gone ahead so that he can make some stupid stops around the world. I mean, you've literally got 2 weeks in office after that. You know, I don't think Poland and all these other places really are expecting to see you, because they're also understanding that there's been a transition, and they're going to be preparing state dinners and head of state meetings and stuff like that for the new administration coming in. That's more or less Pence's way of saying, you know what, when he goes back crazy, I'm gonna be halfway around the world when he does it. He's facing a lot of pushback right now from Trump, and you saw where Louis Gohmert and some of these other crackpot Republicans are trying to sue him to get him to not certify. Well, here's the problem. He has to, constitutionally speaking. It's he has to.
Well, I think the thing that we miss is that he's not really certified. It's already been certified. The election is certified. He's simply reading.
Right.
His job under the Constitution isn't to declare a winner or appoint anybody. It's just simply to read it off for Congress, and that's it. Nobody there. And I don't know if you ever quit a job before or knew that your time was coming to the end. He's making all these trips because this is the last time that he gets his free vacation to fly around the world and stuff. And so, and like you said, then he's going to be out of town and something. But he's always played the I wasn't there game with Mr. Trump and his reactions and stuff. Well, I was there. I don't know. I didn't see the tweet. But like I say, I don't really know. Yeah, he's being sued, which is I don't understand how you can continue with these frivolous lawsuits, but that's just another thing.
Yeah, I've been thinking that too. You know, I think that's why they had to really stop with the ones where they went to court about election fraud, when 59 times they tried to present, well, we think there's fraud. And when they say, okay, well, where's your proof? Well, we don't have any. But there's so much of it going on that it's just running like a fire hose. I
don't think it's true. I think they had plenty of proof of election fraud. It was just a fraud that they tried to commit, and they were not willing to turn that over.
Right.
And you know, I don't know if you ever tried to cheat before and still lost. I would be suspicious too. If I had done everything in my power to steal this thing, I mean, that's like breaking into a bank and finding out somebody took the money. Hold on a second, let me call the cops. We got thieves around here.
That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. They thought that their plan to steal it was so airtight that when they opened up the vault, the money was already gone. And the problem is, it's like they sat there and gathered as a bunch of robbers. And they said, okay, we're going to do this, 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 this. Can't fail. This is an airtight plan. And they sit there and they get their special outfits and they got the night vision goggles and they scaling the walls and, you know, they got these little fancy things to hear the combination and they spinning it around and everything else. And they go through all of that and pull it back. Nothing. So they wasted their time with trying to jack up the post office, try to limit post office boxes, try to limit how many days of early voting, all these different things that they tried to do to disenfranchise people. Basically, people said, you know what? It don't matter what you do, we coming, because y'all got to go. That's how bad you are when somebody says, in spite of all these things you've done to be roadblocks in our way, we're going to show up and show out in spite of all of that. And I don't think they really expected that. They expected people to get deterred and just go back home and ride it out, but they didn't do that. They didn't do it. No. Any thoughts on Trump still deciding that he's going to fight this to the bitter end, even though it's over? He's still talking about you know, maybe not leaving. Bill Barr finally had enough. He left on Christmas. Now there's worries that he's just putting people in these positions over the last 2 weeks to stage one last coup attempt.
Well, that's the Trump being Trump. I mean, he can't face the fact that he actually lost something, even though he has lost many times in his life. But right. he always tries to spin the story so that he's actually not at fault for what actually happened. So it's not his fault that he lost. It was taken from him.
What do you think about this whole thing about him waiting until Congress had agreed on a bill, albeit a slap in the face bill for $600, and they keep calling it $600 stimulus. You know, the whole idea of a stimulus is when everything is already going okay, you do a little bit of a stimulus to inject you stimulate. You're trying to get people to spend money. This isn't really stimulus. This is survival. For a lot of these people, they're into the thousands in arrears when it comes to rent. They're looking at unemployment insurance. They're looking at foreclosures. They're looking at evictions. They're looking at trying to figure out how to pay the heat and have food on the table, and you know, not having to go to food banks all the time and you know, stuff like that. And they're calling it a stimulus check as if everybody's just, you know, okay and nothing's going on. So they keep calling it stimulus is one thing. Then they call it, well, $600, that's enough because we don't want to sit there and give people more money than they need.
Well, you got to understand. Well, first of all, let me say that I am very, very blessed, and that I'm not facing eviction or foreclosure. I went to the fridge before I came out here, and there was food in there. Obviously, I got all my lights on. I got some Christmas lights outside still going on because I put them up, and they're gonna stay to the end of the month. But for a lot of people, the stuff that was in that bill for unemployment benefits, moratorium on evictions and foreclosures and stuff, that was big, and $600. Now, I'm not above $600. Let me tell you that right now, too. And if you are, please send it to me. I'll put my Cash App in the link to the video and stuff. Y'all can send me $600, and I'll do something with it if you don't want it. But his behavior, like Mike said, it's really just him being himself. And, you know, the whole he didn't get anything else out of the bill after threatening to veto it. He didn't veto it. He simply wouldn't sign it because he knew it was veto proof. And so if he vetoed the bill, they were just going to vote on it again, and it was going to pass anyway. So, I mean, it was just a game he was playing. It was a game that caused people at least 1 week, if not 2 weeks, of unemployment benefits that ran out last Saturday. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but the end is near for those kind of games and stuff. But I would like to say I don't think Biden is a savior, especially not for the Black community and stuff. But you look forward to at least having somebody on, you know, with principle and integrity doing stuff instead of the games that he's playing.
These are temper tantrums. You know, I honestly believe that all of this was his temper tantrum, because it's like when you're in a relationship and the relationship has come to an end, but you've gotten not only close to your girl, but you've gotten close to her family too. And you kind of realize that when y'all have moved on from each other, the family done moved on from you too. And you don't really know how to deal with that because you were really cool with these people. And now all of a sudden, they don't support you anymore. They're moving on. Now they've accepted reality that relationship is over, and now they have to get ready for the next relationship. So they're being responsible and saying, okay, elections have consequences. You lost. We know this new administration is coming in. We're going to have to try to figure out where we can work with them and when we decide we can't. So they've already started to move on, and he can't accept the fact of that. He did this whole thing to thumb his nose up at Mitch McConnell because he started tweeting out that I helped him win and all these other people win, and I'll never forget, as if he's been rejected by them. Donald, I know you're listening right now. Mitch did not reject you. Kevin McCarthy, he didn't reject you either. No, sir. Maxine Waters, Hakeem Jeffries, no, they ain't reject you either. Even Roy Blunt, he ain't reject you. Pat Toomey, he ain't reject you. You know who rejected you, Donald?
Who was it?
All of us. We rejected you on November the 3rd. They're doing what they're supposed to do for self-preservation. Now that you are no longer there to be their puppet and help them, now they got to figure out how to make Joe Biden as much as a puppet, which on some parts they're going to really try to do, because Joe is hell-bent on thinking that he can work with these people that you have sat there and done one service for us, Donald. You've shown us who they really are. Even though a lot of us already knew, you've exposed them. You've exposed their hypocritical speaking when it comes to being the party of family values. Well, we know that's not true. You've exposed them from being the party of fiscal responsibility. Well, they've blown a hole in the debt so big, my God, you could put 3 Grand Canyons in it. So you've done us a favor, Donald. You've really shown us that the Republican Party is a party of opportunism, where now when it's time to help people in need, when it's time to be able to give money to those who could really use it at a time when they're facing things that are a result of something that isn't any fault of their own. Now they all of a sudden care about debt and debt control. When it was time to dish out tax credits to 85% of the 1%, they went along with it. They took care of their donors and everything. Debt be damned. Now that we want to take care of regular Joe Smo, we don't want to pay people that are already working. Well, you paid a whole lot of corporations that was already working. You paid Warren Buffett, he was already working. You paid Jeff Bezos, he was already working. George Soros, you always talking about George Soros. Well, you gave his ass a tax credit too. Now when regular hardworking Americans need it, now they care about the debt again. So Donald, thank you. You did expose that, but it's still going to be time to go. If we need to start a GoFundMe page to get U-Haul there on January the 20th, we can make that happen. But they didn't lose it for you. You lost it. People hated you so much, Donald, that they showed up in record numbers to make sure that you would be a one-term president. So sorry to break it to you, dog, but that's what happened to you. Sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to disagree with you on one point that where the country didn't actually reject Donald Trump. A little
No,
less than
70
half the country,
million.
a little less than half the country actually did support him. So that in itself is a very sad fact.
True.
So,
But he did lose. He did lose the popular vote by 7 million.
yes.
Yeah, but there were still 71
That
million.
voted for him.
True. I mean, I ain't saying that everybody said no, but what I mean is that through a fair, democratic election process, you got an opportunity to state your case why you should get another 4 years, and your challenger got an opportunity to state their case as why you deserve to be a one-term president. And the people have spoken. At that point, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like the outcome or not, it is time to go. You can't get mad at Mitch McConnell just because after the Electoral College finally certified, which they never wait for the Electoral College to certify it before they say, well, I don't know if I can call him president-elect because there's a whole lot of discrepancies out there. Like what?
Well, you know, I'll say this, man. So the challenges and stuff, and you can challenge. I mean, there's nothing wrong with challenging. We all thought to ourselves what he was challenging and the merit of what he was challenging didn't add up and stuff. But you can challenge, and so I'll get past to mention everybody else is like, well, he's challenging. Well, he is challenging stuff. Now, is it fair to wait for him to lose in court? It is fair. I mean, was it 159? Yeah, absolutely, it's fair. Go 1 for 70. I think the thing is that it's a perfect example of why you don't want to be in a reverb chamber with people who are just sycophants and stuff. Because in his mind, how could he have lost? Because everybody told him he was going to win. Every time he goes to rallies and stuff, he's always talking about his crowd size. Like, all these people come out, and people do. People come from far and wide to go to his rallies. They believe whatever he has to say. He has a very, very 71 million strong, at least, following. And those are just the ones that can vote. They have nothing to do with their kids who believe the same things, because they're out there too, or the people who just couldn't vote because there might be criminals or whatever it is keeping them from voting and stuff. But he does have a strong following, and I understand why he thinks. Now, the whole thing about him going to the bitter end and stuff, it's sad on one side, and the other side, you kind of want to see it, right? Because, I mean, really, it's sad, but it's like
the show. It's like a car crash that keeps going and going and going. You just want to see it hit.
Yeah. It's like, it's morbid, but I can't stop looking. It's good TV, and he wants to be good TV. So, I mean, that would be fabulous and stuff. But I think the thing that he really underestimated, because his big thing was, people aren't enthused about Joe Biden. And to him, I would say, and again, I think he's right. I think his research is right when they were like, are people, he had his campaign out there, are people enthused about Joe Biden? They were like, no. But what they didn't tell him was that they hate you more than anything else. And that's what drove people to the polls and stuff. It wasn't because everybody thought to themselves, I mean, Joe Biden's been in government for over 40 years. Everybody knows what Joe Biden's about and stuff. That's why I said earlier, is he going to be a savior of black people? He ain't never been. Why would I think he would start now? Both these dudes are 70-something years old. And so when Donald Trump's talking about he won't forget all this stuff, dude, you're 70-something years old. I don't know how much longer you going to be around to be holding grudges and stuff anyway. But I think that to the point with Michael's point, which I agree with, is that yes, he lost by almost 8 million votes, but he was not soundly rejected because there were 70 million votes for him, right. which was, again, as he likes to point out, no sitting president has ever got that many votes. And so, yep, he's right. He's very popular. His policies and everything he talks about is very popular. And so him not going, him trying to stay to the end and fight to the bitter end. I mean, we all know that's grifting. He's just getting money from people that he's funneling to himself. We know what that is. But Parler, the Parler crowd over there, they don't know and they don't care. And it was stolen, and he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to fight to the very end. How would he look if he gave up now?
Right.
How would he look at those people?
Right.
He's got to fight.
See that, and you're right. To your point, he started it, so he can't now all of a sudden back away from it. He has to continue to be that same person to them.
Yep.
They have to foresee him as this fighter. He's going to fight all the way to the end because that's how he's self-promoted himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask y'all this though. So now that we do know that there's going to be a Biden-Harris administration, what scares you about this administration coming? What are you worried about with this administration?
A lot.
Very much so.
Break it down, Mike. Break it down.
Yeah, what you got, Mike?
The first thing I'm start off with is a point that already brought up, that both him and Trump are over 70 years old. So is Biden going to be there through the whole 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Right.
Is Kamala ready to take over the presidency at a moment's notice? Who knows?
Do you know who the vice president would be if something did happen to Joe?
Nancy.
Right.
Nancy.
Hey, so let me tell you what really worries me about this administration and Joe Biden is that what you were talking about earlier, that Joe Biden somehow believes that there's middle ground and that there's some way to work from both sides with Trump Republicans. I believe that's how it goes. And that's what worries me, is that he's going to spend way too much time trying to compromise to a section of people who are not interested in compromise. And that he's going to waste valuable time and resources trying to talk to people who don't really want to talk to him. And if Georgia doesn't flip the Senate for him, and even if they do flip the Senate, I'm really, really concerned that his whole thing is unification and healing and stuff like that. And I think it honestly speaks to being naive about what America is and where America is in terms of the opportunity to heal, just simply because you want to extend the olive branch. These people don't want your olive branch. They want some iced tea slammed up against their head and keep that thing on you. But that's what's really going on. They're not looking to compromise because there was no compromise when they were in charge, and that's why it was everything that they do. You talk about that Trump exposed them. These guys have been exposed for years. The fact that they stayed behind him really emphasized the hypocrisy that they stand behind. But they've always talked. The only time they've ever talked about fiscal consciousness has always been where they helped Americans and stuff. As long as they help corporations, which I think recently became people. So, but as long as they help corporations and their donors and stuff, they've always been okay with spending money. It's just, what do we spend money on? Right. People talk about this $2,000, and they're like, well, money's not free. Where's it gonna come from? Well, no one ever questions, like when they were designing a new Air Force One, where that money was coming from. When we go to war and stuff, no one questions that. When we're giving out foreign aid, no one questions where that money's coming from. Anytime they want to build a fighter, a missile, a tank, anytime they want to give out money to police forces and governments or other stuff like that, no one ever says, where's that money coming from? As soon as you try to help an individual or person and stuff, well, this ain't welfare. Well, it is welfare. It's welfare for most millionaires and most corporations and stuff. And I've said time and time again. So has he helped to emphasize their hypocrisy? Absolutely. But they've always been that way. And a lot of people have seen them that way. But like I say, once again, that's my big fear, is that he's going to spend way too much time trying to appease people who you just can't appease.
And in addition to that,
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
What I was going to say is, in addition to the Republicans and everything, he's going to have a lot of problems within his own party, with the,
Yes,
with the
absolutely.
progressive
Yep.
branch against the centrist, basically himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Go ahead, Lori. That's a great point, Mike. I'm glad you said that.
Just to add on to what Jermaine and what Michael were saying is that centrists, we all need to come together. I think what Biden needs to do is to really be gangster and to be like, I'm in charge and let's go. What I'm also very much afraid of is the Trump Republicans or these people that are inciting violence. I really feel that going into this administration, we will see more violent acts going on, just as we've seen the act from around in Nashville on Christmas with this person who actually set off a bomb in an area. Even though he set out on a bullhorn, letting people know to get out to this way, but he blew himself up. And this person was actually known to the FBI back in 2019, that his girlfriend actually let the FBI know that he was building bombs. So I feel that it's going to be a very trying and a time where we're going to see a lot more violence. We've already seen a lot of violence within 2020 with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of this, and then the acts against people of color and Black people in general. But I just feel that Biden is just going to keep in like, oh, we all need to come together. No, we don't. He needs to be that. And then he also needs to go and talk to the people within the Democratic Party, because I like AOC, but she's a little bit way too left. And even with Bernie Sanders, who even said, well, I'm going to not vote because I want to make sure that we get the $2,000. Like, there's just too many little fragmented voices, and Democratic Party really needs to become together and to be like, you know what? We have been under the Republicans, and we need to come together as a united front. But I really feel like they're not going to do it, and they're going to keep this centrist, we kumbaya, and there's no need to kumbaya now.
Yeah, well, one of the best things about the Democratic Party is they're such a diverse party. One of the worst things about the Democratic Party is they're such a diverse party. So,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is that I'm old enough to remember when Barack Obama did have a majority in both halls, and he still had problems because there were blue dog Democrats, there were progressives, there were centrists, there were moderates, and a lot of times, to what you guys said earlier, forget what the Republicans were trying to filibuster. He couldn't even get his own party to agree a lot of times because the blue dogs are very conservative. Then you have your moderates. Then you'd have Bernie and Angus King, who are independents, but they caucus with the Democrats. I'm worried because just having 50 still means that you have to have all 50 agree for Kamala to be able to do a tiebreaker. Joe Manchin from West Virginia is not a reliable vote for Democrats.
No.
Because Joe has already gone on the record and say, hey, I ain't about no Green New Deals and some of this other stuff that they're spouting out. He's looking for a moderate Joe Biden. Joe Biden has signaled he is going to be moderate. So if they start trying to come out with progressive policies and things like that, that is going to turn off a wing of Democrats. If you can't even get those 50 to stay together, you're not going to be able to pick off enough Susan Collins, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski's to sit there and get that back. You need all 50 Democrats, well, 48 plus 2, to stay together, and so that you can keep your majority and then have Kamala Harris truck on over to break the inevitable tie. So that's my worry is that Joe is basically a moderate Republican, and he's wanting to extend the olive branch too much, and that he's wanting to let bygones be bygones. He wants things to heal. I'm still rather upset because I think if Joe has his way, Donald Trump will not face any kind of repercussions from the U.S. Attorney General, whoever that's going to end up being, whether that's Doug Jones, Sally Yates, or Merrick Garland, because those are the three front runners. I would have loved to see Susan Rice take that over. I would have loved to see Oh God, I would love to see a whole bunch of African Americans take that over. That's going to have more of an agenda when it comes to social justice, racial inequality, and things like that. Not saying that any of those can do it. I'd love to see Eric Holder come back and do it. But Joe is looking like he's trying to figure out who can pass Senate confirmations instead of really putting in the people that he really needs to put in. And when it comes to Trump, you know, my whole thing is that for over a year when Donald Trump was going to be impeached and everything else, I kept hearing that no one is above the law. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. So even when he's out of office and you have proof in the Mueller report that he obstructed justice, we need to move on. What if I obstruct justice? Does it matter whether, you know, I'm in one state of my life or another state? I'm going down.
Hey, man, we don't.
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. Them laws weren't made for us. I know that's what you're gonna say.
Hey, because that's truth, man. That's true.
But my point is that if you, what you're saying is no one is above the law, does it matter if they're in office or not?
No, well, see, remember, Joe didn't say that. Trump said that, and you know that don't apply to him.
Well, no. I mean, no. I'm speaking about all the Democrats that rush to the podiums every effing day about why Trump needed to be held accountable for what he did with Ukraine and trying to strong arm them and everybody else. And they talk about Roger Stone. They talk about Paul Manafort. They talk about George Papadopoulos. They talk about Michael Cohen. They talk about all these people. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. This is why we're doing it, because nobody's above the law.
Yeah.
But then Joe comes in and says, well, I don't want to spend the next 4 years talking about Donald Trump every day.
Hey, look, and I understand. Like, I don't want to talk about him anymore. Really.
I don't either. But let your Justice Department do it. You don't have to bring it up. Let them do it. Don't hamstring them.
I think there's enough, you know, criminals going crime. I think there's enough stuff out there that's not on a federal level. That's state, New York.
I agree.
Is bringing in stuff, and so I think we're worried about whether or not. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you that yes, New York is getting that ratcheted up. So
yeah, they just hired forensic accountants to really go through all of this stuff. So I get that. I get it.
And so and you got to understand, Joe literally has more important things to do. There are over 3,000. I remember when we were talking about it being 15, and then it got up to 1,000 people a day, and 2,000, so over 3,000 people a day dying from COVID and stuff. He really does have more important things for him and his administration to focus on. And you're right, that's a DOJ issue to go after crimes. And I read the other day that there were a lot of things in the Mueller report that they didn't even charge him with because they kind of figured this stuff would happen. And that's gonna play out on its own. I think the whole thing about what's going to happen or people are going to try to hold him accountable, it's not so much whether you like him or not. The accountability is that you hold him accountable so people, the next Trump doesn't try the same things, knowing that, okay, well, they got the last guy, you know, I can't do it like them, you know, I have to find another way to crime. But to your point about the Democratic Party, I brought this up before. The only reason it's so large and people look like you have a Bernie Sanders in their country is simply because you need a national party in order to win elections and stuff.
Correct.
But it's not one party. That's the reason, like you pointed out, that President Obama had a hard time getting the Democrats to be on the side. Even trying to pass the health care was a big hurdle and stuff because of that whole thing. Because it's really several different parties kind of bunched into one.
Coalesce together, correct.
Yeah, and so the thing that Lord talked about, to bring it all back home, is that when you have that moderate tone that you guys are talking about that he wants to set, there are a lot of progressives out there who voted for Joe on the idea that he was going to push some progressive policies, and if he doesn't, maybe I should amend my biggest fear is that Democrats are going to lose more seats, the president stuff again, because they're not going to have enough votes and stuff. And so how do you balance that out? I don't know. Good luck, young man. I hope he makes it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sunday is the day that the new Congress is sworn in, but it's also crazily, but I'm going to say this, it's the start of 2022 campaign. People start running now 2 years out. So the midterms in 2022 begin on Sunday, and it's just 2020. Everybody's going to be angling. That's why you got some of these Republicans that are angling right now, because if Trump finally does decide that he's not going to run and gives them the green light, they want to be in his good graces. That's why you had the senator today, Hawley, talk about he's going to object. And now he wants to be the darling of the Republican Party. You still got Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, some of these other people in the party that are trying to position themselves for 2024. So everybody's trying to out-Trump each other to be in good graces with Trump, because whether he runs or not, they know that if he endorses you and you get his base, then that could pretty much carry you over the finish line as far as a Republican nomination. But I'm not going to let the Democrats off the hook. They do the same thing. They'll start fundraising and they'll start saying, oh, we need to fight the Republicans and, Joe Biden's agenda and everything else. So they're going to start running on January 3rd, 2021 as well for November 2022. And that's why we can't ever get anything done, because they're always running. But they're always running away from our needs, our priorities, and the things that we need to have them do, because they're always running towards the next election.
Well, term limits have a lot to do with that, especially in a House. House guys really only get maybe a year from when they win to when they have to full-fledged start campaigning again for the next election stuff. Senate gets a little bit more time, and they can be in there, and it was meant to be that kind of stability. And America is working the way it was designed. How about that? And so is there supposed to be influence from rich and powerful people? There it is, because that's the way it was designed to work. I guess that's the thing. I guess the more that I've looked at American history and the way that our economic and political systems work and stuff, I go, it works exactly the way it was designed. I'm not really sure where everybody's complaining. Black people, so if you get killed, like the police are not there to protect and serve. They're there to maintain control and make sure that nothing gets out of hand. That's really what that structure is about. And my disclaimer for that, it's hard to say police because it's not a national organization. It's left up to local municipalities and stuff. So that's why you can't get police reform, because if you're going to do it here in Charlotte, doesn't mean that they're even going to do it next door in Gastonia, because they got their own thing going on. So you can't really reform police. And that's why it's a little bit unfair sometimes when you say, well, look at how police treat black people. Well, yeah, those police treat them like that, but you go somewhere else. Like, I'm friends with a lot of police officers, and they treat me just fine. And the ones that I've had the chance to interact with never killed me. Hence the reason I'm before you today. But had I been somewhere else, I just state facts. Had I been somewhere else, it might be different. But yeah, I know. It's a lot. I'm going off.
I got you. Mike, any other things that concern you about the new administration, or that you hope that they can overcome? I mean, they haven't gotten started yet. I give them that they got 21 days, and a lot of things can change. But just from the tea leaves that we've been seeing, are there some things that you really hope that they can just hit the ground running with and kind of overcome?
Well, I'll say this. My faith in the Democratic Party is not that much stronger than my faith in the Republican Party. They need to do a little something to prove what they can do for us coming up in the future, in the next 2 years, especially if they have both the House and the Senate.
Yeah. I'm so worried that, like somebody brought up, that Bernie is trying to hold up a vote for the $2,000. What he's doing, though, is he's using his leverage as a U.S. senator to filibuster a vote on a defensive spending bill that Trump has vetoed. That what they're wanting to do is say, okay, Trump has vetoed it, but if we get 2/3 to sign on to this, we can go home for the holidays. What Bernie is saying, not so fast. You ain't gonna just ram this V2 proof bill through and leave regular Americans hanging with this $2,000 that your God Emperor sat there and made a video about. So if y'all want to go home and see, here's the other thing. If they have to work through the weekend, there's 2 U.S. senators that can't afford to be in D.C. this weekend because they got a runoff going on Tuesday. They need this to go ahead and go through real smoothly so they can get back to Georgia. So what Bernie is saying is that I have the power of the filibuster. So Mitch, if you want to go home, you want Loeffler and Perdue to go and campaign and everything else, you gonna put this bill on the floor and we're gonna get an up and down vote. I ain't saying it's gonna pass, but I want it on the floor for an up and down vote so that now, if you vote against it, that is a campaign ad waiting to happen that you voted against giving people $2,000 checks. That's what he's doing. But what I'm worried about is that through Biden's presidency, other factions are going to do the same thing. Even with Nancy Pelosi, she knows she has a slim majority. If the squad, now that they have Tlaib, Presley, AOC, Omar, now they've got Jamal Bowman, they've got the other lady from Missouri that they thought was Breonna Taylor. They got some other, Corey Bush, yeah. They got her now, so they're growing. The squad is growing. So the squad is almost their own set. So now if you get enough of them to break off, and Pelosi now has to go start begging Republicans to come together to negate what the squad is doing, see, now you start having those, inner fights too. So I'm worried that now they start to see all this, hey, we got some leverage, that basically what's going to happen is nothing. And you're right, Jermaine, that's how Congress was designed. It was designed to be a two-party system where basically there's checks and balances, which basically means that Congress runs at a snail's pace, which makes sense, is why we have a damn turtle as the Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah, but like I say, but that exactly is how Congress was designed to run. It was designed so they didn't want, the founders didn't want the government to swing back and forth wildly and stuff. They wanted checks and balances and stuff. They wanted a House that represented the people and therefore brought ideas, but they wanted a Senate there to temper those ideas against time and prudence and stuff. And so I'll say this: I think that Bernie is doing the right thing because for him, it's a two-parter. If I can get the $2,000 for everybody, that's a win-win for everybody. But if I can get people right, because there's a lot of Republicans who are behind Mitch McConnell going, man, I'd vote for that thing, but Mitch, and they don't have to vote on it, right? And so they don't ever have to really.
He's giving them cover.
Yeah, and Mitch is so and part of the reason he's the majority leader is because they can't get him out of Kentucky,
right?
And unless me and about 3 million of my closest friends want to move to Kentucky, I'd be more than willing to get my license in Kentucky and find us all homes. But unless we want to move there and change the demographic of Kentucky, he's a safe senator, so he can take. He's bulletproof, and his assistants are not bringing things to the floor and stuff. And so he allows them to hide behind him and stuff. I don't think it's wrong. I understand what you're saying about, well, what if everybody else tries this? Well, they do, because when Mitch was the minority leader, that's exactly what he did. The fact that Democrats haven't used these tactics before is what's disappointing. Not that they're using them now, and that's just my opinion. I think that the stance from Democrats is that, you know what, it's like being in a boxing match where a referee comes in and says, all right, guys, let's have a clean fight. And Democrats are like, yeah, let's have a clean fight. And over in the other corner and stuff, the Republicans over there with chainsaws and flamethrowers and machine guns and stuff. So, yeah, clean fight. He's like, nah, you're not going to win because we're going to use every tool that we can. Y'all don't want to win. And quite honestly, that's kind of the thing with my fear with Joe Biden, the whole olive branch thing is that you don't actually want to win so much as that you don't want to offend.
Right.
And there's a difference between that and actually wanting to get your policies pushed through. When Trump won in 2016, he lost the popular vote by 3 million votes and stuff. And Republicans said, we have a mandate from the American people that everything that we want must be pushed through.
Yep.
We got 7 million, and Joe talking about, well, I don't know, I won't step on no toes. Bro, we elected you to crush ankles. We need you snatching ankles like Iverson. And so the unwillingness for that is what, again, that olive branch, that's what it means to me. But again, I think that Sanders is doing the right thing. I'm going to force you to vote. And if you don't want to vote, it's going to cost you a little something to do it. So either way, win for me. Yeah, we know. And again, like the defense bill, it's what, $740 billion billion dollars. And we talked about $2,000 for every American, which is quite less than that. But no one cares about that, and no one's talking about that in terms of fiscal responsibility and stuff. So
yeah,
let Bernie be Bernie.
And you know, the funny thing is with the defense bill, until Trump vetoed it, it had never been vetoed before. It's always been one of those things. Again, it's a procedural thing. Hey, there's a defense bill. Everybody loves it because they can claim that they're being good to the military because it does include pay raises for military, but it also includes a whole lot of money for defense contractors and people like that make their money by selling planes, bullets, tanks, all kinds of military equipment to our military. And that's what a lot of that is. And it always gets pushed through. No one bats an eye at it. Trump sat there and held it up, and they have a veto-proof majority, but any senator can filibuster and drag it out. And if he drags it out, he can't stop it, but he can drag it out. You know, he can talk on the floor for a long, long time, and it can run into the weekend, and they just have to sit there and listen to it. So if Bernie get a lot of his power aid and stuff going, it could be a long weekend for Purdue and Lawful. So anyway, changing the subject a little bit. We've got 7 more minutes. We've got 2 more days left of 2020. Like I said earlier, it's been a very, very tough year for everybody. What are some of the things that you guys are looking forward to for 2021 to distance ourselves from this year?
First, let me say this. I saw this meme the other day. Is anybody upset that 2021 actually spells out 2021, W-O-N?
Yeah. Oh God, Mike, no. I was looking forward to 2021. You just crapped on it. You just doo-dooed on it. That's good. I like that, though.
I like that one too.
Well, and you know what? In a lot of ways, I guess it did. Oh, man.
No,
Lori,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Lori, what you looking forward to for 2021?
I'm looking forward to, I'm hoping that there's less toxicity in the world, that 2020 was so polarizing, and I would hope that going into 2021 that it would be less polarizing and that there's less toxicity in the world and with people in general. And that I hope, just to kind of piggyback onto what was discussed before, with the new administration, that what I'm actually really concerned about is our pandemic that we have going on, the distribution of vaccines. And I'm hoping that Biden and the Biden-Harris administration will get it right, and that actually will give the power to the state and local so that it can be distributed to everyone that needs to get this vaccine. That's my biggest concern, that I just hope that they don't screw this up. It's already been screwed up before with Trump and everything that has exceeded to where we are now. So
Fair enough. All right, Jay.
Hey, Look, 2020 was rough for a lot of people, but I stay blessed up, man. I got a beautiful wife.
Did you sell any houses?
I did, and I'm gonna get to that, man. So I stay blessed up. I got a beautiful wife. I get to come home to. My girls are growing. They'll have a good year. Yeah, I know, tall, right? My brother and sister-in-law moved down from New York, so they're right down the street from me now. We got my mom settled in a nice place. I finally got my broker in charge license, so I got my own firm in 2021. It's going to be me stepping out from Keller Williams and having Jermaine Parker Realty at the forefront and stuff. I just got to order my signs and business cards and equipment. I got drones and 3D mapping for stuff. www.jermaineparkerrealtyllc.com. Check me out. But yeah, I mean, really, I sold some houses next year. I'm going on a listing call on next Tuesday. Try to get another house to sell and put my sign in the yard for the first time. My sign with my name on it and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to what next year brings and stuff, and the opportunities that it brings. And I just say that, no matter what's going on with that other stuff, if you got your health and your mental stuff going on, man, you can figure out a way. You can figure out a way to make it a better year and stuff. And sometimes you just got to unclutter and deplug from all this noise that's going on around you for a little while. It was taken away from you.
So Barry, gonna sell some houses?
I'm definitely hoping to. So first off, I'm gonna start off with one thing that I hope to see continuing everything from this year is everybody's participation in the whole Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of times when these things have happened and everything, it's been like one and done. When it happens, you're there. When it's over, everybody moves on from it. Hopefully, we can keep the momentum up this year and keep things going. On a personal front, looking to sell some houses this year. New York City realty was very rough this year, but I recently branched off into Westchester. So I'm handling Westchester County now as well.
Oh, okay.
Up here, so let's see how that goes.
I think that's going to go well.
Yep. And since we're plugging everything, you can go to michaelberryproperties.com and check out all the listings up here in Westchester and listings in New York City. I'm actually dual licensed now in both New York City and Westchester.
Nice. And y'all, we got two good realtors, and very, very soon I plan on having two different segments, Jermaine. One, I want to do one about Black Wall Street, and one I want to do about realty, home ownership, because I really think that that's something that we really need to talk more about as we're talking about growth and everything else. There may have been a time when we were younger where it was cool not to pay your bills and not worry about your credit, and 7 years is going to fall off, and that ain't really true, as I learned a long time ago, and all that kind of stuff, and why you need good credit, and minimizing credit cards and store cards and all this other stuff goes into a lot of this stuff. So I definitely want to be able to reach out for that in 2021. I want Empower to continue to grow, to be a resource to people, to be a platform that people can be able to use to advance all kinds of content that they want to do. There's different phases that I have for Empower. This is one of the smaller phases. The bigger phases will include an actual studio to be able to lease to people that want to be able to film their own content, to also providing a bigger home for Empower for our streaming and digital services, and make that a lot bigger too. Hopefully by the spring and the summer, we'll even start to bring in some interns that'll do more marketing and sales and things like that for us, and get more commercials. I saw one of my first embedded advertisements as I was watching our streaming the other week, and I said, Lori, this is a Pilates place down in Houston that's on Empower. Holy crap! So that doesn't just happen on its own. That's from so many people getting on, watching us. 2020 did help Empower a lot because people were doing a lot of things. They were having to cut the cord. with the high cost of cable. So they were looking for alternatives. Movies, productions, TV shows shut down for quite some time. So people were looking for different kinds of content out there. We definitely benefited from that. We definitely want to continue to work into that segment. Like I said, I want to add Amazon to this. Like I said, Roku has over 75 million users. Amazon Fire has over 75 million. Even Google TV is starting to become a big player in the game too. So there's a lot of different avenues that I want to be able to take in Power. But as my brother did state, me and my wife were able to move down, be closer to family. So that has been great for 2020. Definitely have my health. Daughter's gonna be.
And me, of course.
I got you.
Exactly.
My youngest child is gonna be 21 on the 5th, same day as the runoff. So I know she's excited about that. I'm excited for the next day, so I don't have to, keep hearing about 21. Just kidding. Yeah, so there's so many things, and I'm thankful for everybody that has given us an opportunity to come into your living room or just across your computer and let us entertain you guys for an hour. We really do appreciate that. We know that none of this happens unless people start to watch and everything else. I thank my panel for 2020. They've come on, they've given me their time, they've given me their views, and I appreciate all of you. We're gonna do it again for 2021, and I want to see y'all in 2021 to continue that ride. So thank y'all so much for that. And with that, thank you, audience. We really appreciate you. We love you guys, and we will see you next year.
Next year, baby.
Next year, baby.
Next year, 2021.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get